Okay, we're going live. It's preparing to live stream right now. So it's setting up the meeting. All righty. Okay, so I think we are officially live. All right. Okay, so we're officially live. So welcome everyone to my comfy couch, a live session on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us. So let's introduce our guests. So first, I want to introduce Brian. Brian, this is his first time on the show. Say hi, Brian.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you for being with us. And returning, we have Rosanna. Say hi, Rosanna.
Hi.
And as you know, who needs no introduction, Mr. Thaddeus the Grouch. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so today we have a hot topic. Tonight the topic is porn and its effect on dating or the relationship space. This is something that I thought was so huge because, both inside out the church, everyone, it just seems like porn is something that's so huge and that's so common now. So is there any negative effects associated with porn in terms of dating and the dating field? Okay, so before we start, I wanted to start kind of, historically, how does this start? How do men or boys initially get introduced to porn? So my two guys on the line, I'm gonna need y'all to help us out. Based on y'all experience, how do boys or young men initially get exposed to porn?
I'm the newbie here, so I'll let Mr. Thaddeus go first.
Yes, Thaddeus.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm used to the fire by now. So in my experience, from what I've seen from both myself and some of my friends, that is something that starts really, really young, right? So you get introduced to it from one of your older friends, or you happen to find a magazine, or your friends are like, hey, come, we want to show you something, and then you get introduced to this thing. It's no different than your friends introducing you to drugs, right? You might come upon it. Everybody has a different story, but they all kind of are the same, where it's just something that you were curious about as a kid, and you didn't know the dangers of it. Nobody told you the dangers of it, but you got introduced to it really, really young.
So are you saying that most times it was through friends?
Yeah, friends, your neighborhood friends, especially if your friends had older brothers or something along those lines, like older siblings. Yeah.
Okay, and Brian, do you think that you had the similar experience, or that's how you found out as well?
Totally agree, 100%. I will say, I'm going to add to that and say that nothing we say here today is going to be 100%, right? Because Western society is different from Eastern society, which is different from highly religious societies, et cetera, et cetera. We get that. But from my point of view, I grew up in the 80s, right? There was no internet in the 80s. So speaking on that, I'm thinking what Thaddeus said is absolutely correct. It was, you're curious, you can't go to mom or dad, but you can go to your friend next door. So that's where you're going to get your information from. I think if we're talking more about younger kids today, there's YouTube, the World Wide Web, they have access. I mean, I have a 10-year-old daughter. She has access to all kinds of things that without parental control, boom, it's right there on her screen. So we have to be careful. And what we're talking about is the crowd over 40. And I think in that crowd, you're talking about, yeah, we probably heard it from, the next door neighbor, our best friend at school, the guy down the street who all your parents warned you about, the bad kid. That's where we initially got our introduction, and it probably happened around about 13. That's the average age. And so 12, 13, somewhere in there is probably when it first happened, because you're always curious. But that's when puberty starts to hit. That's when your curiosity peaks. That's when your hormones are bumping. And so that's when you start looking for information. And the easiest source is who you trust, which is probably somewhere around your next door neighbor.
Ooh, okay.
Mm.
That's very informative. Listen, I want to give a shout out to NH and Simplified Chic. I see y'all in the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight. Let us know if you have any questions, any comments y'all want to add to the discussion. So both of you guys, so friends, so that's a big thing. So parents out there watching, you need to educate your kids, right? Because so much of our sexual education to me comes from friends as opposed to the people it should be coming from, for us to learn about things like this. So it's really important. You see, you have a kid that's in the adolescent stage, talk to them about sex, inform them about, porn and this kind of thing. Because if you don't, their friends will.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
there's a different way too. Sorry. Can I
Go
get
ahead.
to the
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's even besides friends, there's a TV from a kid, on the weeknights, you go to bed early because of school. But let's say it's a holiday or weekend, you up late. And that's when those movies come on, when you up late at night. Like, I remember my grandmother would be like, what you doing up watching TV? I'm like, Grandma, what are you talking about? Oh, and she'll be like, that's when the nasty movies come on. I'm like, but I'm a kid, so I'm not quite sure what she was talking about. But as I got older and hit the teenage years, 13, I was like, wait, Grandma was right, because we up late watching movies, innocent, and they do come on late at night, like 11 o'clock onward, like Cinemax. And then, you find out information from the TV. And then they say you have the switch in the back of the cable box, all kind of stuff, with the Spice World. So even like our parents actually knew, because we would have to go to bed a certain time because of what time those stuff come on. So even before Friends, there's a television, because they have those kissing scenes, or those kind of scenes that they don't block out. And especially if you're up late at night watching TV and your parents to bed, boom, you're already exposed to it. Yeah. And then your curiosity get piqued, then you ask your friends about it, then they give you suggestions, and then there goes the more information flowing. So for me, it was TV before Friends.
So you see, you got the TV, you got the Friends, and like Brian said, now it's at your fingertips. Like you got your phone, the kids can watch things on their phone now. It's crazy. What was interesting to me is when I've spoken to some male friends about this, they said that sometimes guys watch porn together, like in a group, and then they watch it and then they kind of check each other to make sure nobody beating up, getting hard and stuff while I'm like, what is that?
I've heard of that.
You're sitting here and you're doing like a meat check to make sure nobody getting hard or disturbed, while y'all watch. Why do boys watch porn together? I don't get that.
That thing is weird.
Again, what are we talking about? So if you have a very limited selection of where you can get your information from, and Joe down the street has a video or a magazine, hey, y'all want to come over and watch it? Yes. There is no 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old that's going to say no, because he's interested. And if that's the only avenue he has, guess what he's going to end up? Right there. So friends are very important, because friends will let you do things that parents won't, that teachers won't, that much of society won't. And so that's where we get our information from. I will say one of the things I heard, and I agree. What was your name again?
Rosanna.
Red Blouse. Zana. I agree with everything she said. It sounded like she was talking about the 90s when cable was coming on and you could get the movie channel and swim. Before that, in the 80s, there was no cable. So what we had then was something like a Benny Hill, which was not what we would consider porn today. But back then, I mean, you saw a girl with shorts and a guy looking up a skirt and that kind of thing. It was more suggestive. And so that was educational. We had Dukes of Hazzard, Daisy Duke. I mean, again, it wasn't porn, but that's all we had on TV. So that's what we watched. And we got a lot of our cues from television, but just different shows. The shows have gotten more progressive over time, but you're absolutely right. We got a lot of our information from the easiest source, Friends, and also television. And now the internet, which makes it even easier. It's crazy.
And now with the whole OnlyFans thing, now you can have like customized porn, right? It's like, okay,
absolutely.
I like this girl. She, bend over, do this. And I have this girl doing what I want her to do. So can you imagine
Basically,
how
yes.
far we've come from then to now? So wow. So this is it's insane. So how I was introduced to porn was from guys. Like I never watched it growing up or anything like that. And it wasn't until I got older and you know, guys trying to get you, I guess, into this world. So it was like a guy that I think I was talking to that like showed me a video or whatever. I've only watched it, you know, a few times in life, but that's my exposure was through men. Why do guys want to introduce girls to, is it because they want them to get the moves down or they want to get them in the mood? Like what is it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Acrobat.
That was his subtle way of telling you, hey, you need to learn some of these moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
Wait,
much.
I wasn't doing anything with him.
Well, he wanted you to come prepared.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree.
Brian, is that true?
What?
He want to show me the moves that I need to have, or he's just trying to get me in the mood?
What if this was a young age? He was trying to get you. He was hoping that porn did to you what it was doing to him. That it would get you in the mood, that you know you would get riled up and ready to go. That's what he was hoping for.
Which is a good segue into this next question is why? What do guys get from watching porn versus women? Because you know, we grew up in a religious kind of background and everything. And I think many women when they're younger feel like, okay, if a guy's watching porn, it's because it kind of feels like he's cheating on you. Like, you know, he's envisioning having sex with this girl. It's like, why am I not good enough for you? Like, why do you have to watch this? And many women are offended. And I was offended when I was younger too, if a guy that I was dating or talking to was watching it. So it wasn't until I got older and, you know, a bit more corrupt and had watched it myself and understood what about what I was watching turned me on. I was like, okay, my mind kind of changed. Because initially I thought it was kind of like him cheating, him wanting this other person. I wasn't fulfilled, to me understanding that sometimes guys are watching, sometimes it's the actual act that just makes you get turned on. You might just want variety. It might be like you didn't have some this week. You know, it could be a variety of reasons. It's not like, you know, you're intentionally not fulfilled with the woman. So you guys tell me, you know, based on your experience, like, you know, what is it about porn? Is it you're hoping that you know, can bang this chick? Or are you just, it's just an act? Like, what is it, you know, about porn? Why do you guys watch it? Go.
It is.
Brian always passing the ball. You the quarterback. Brian is the quarterback.
No, I'm paying my respects to the man who's been here. I'm letting him go first.
So, okay, I'll go first. For me, I think it just started out of curiosity. It's something that you start at curiosity, then as you go along, you kind of like develop an appetite for it. I view porn just as I view drugs, alcohol, any one of those vices. It's something that at first, when you get into it, you don't understand the ramifications. It's just curiosity. It's like, let me see what this thing does. And then you get your first high. And then you're forever chasing that high that you initially get. And for me, like, you know, then it trickles on from there. And then you start to get really, really niche. Just like those weed smokers, like at first, like any weed will do. And then, you know, then it has to be like purple haze or, you know, like it becomes very specific. Same thing like alcohol. People start with, they'll drink anything just to get drunk. And then as they go along, it gets more niche where they become like a gin, or I like, you know, margaritas or mojitos, or I like a specific kind of alcohol, right? It's just like any other vice. So like I said, it starts, you know, it starts out also just curiosity. Like you're young, you know, at 13, you're not pulling chicks like that. You can't just you can't just go to a girl. You don't know enough about the world, but your hormones are raging and you're very curious. So that's how it's.
So would you second
absolutely that? Absolutely. Second, yes, absolutely. So I second the motion. When we're talking about especially young teens, it's mostly curiosity and educational. You don't know. And so you're trying to find out. And that is the only place, if you really think about it, where else are you going to see how to perform if you don't watch that video?
Okay.
So you're just trying to figure out, okay, He's right. You're not pulling like that. So I'm not at the moment, like tonight, I got to perform. And I'm like, no, at some point, I'm going to get it. But right now, I'm just trying to find out when I do get in that situation, what do I do? And so I'm just curious at the moment. And it's also satisfying, right? Because I mean, I'm looking at it and feelings are moving. So yeah, that's all it is in the beginning. And this is such an important point that I want to bring up, because you said it first, and that is you were offended when the guy was watching it because you felt basically that you weren't good enough, like what was wrong with you. And that is much more of an internal issue that has nothing to do with the guy. We know that now. That's where jealousy comes from, that insecurity. And that has nothing to do with why a guy actually does what he does. He's just curious, especially on the younger end. Of course, over 25, then it becomes he's got experience, and now it may be just because he wants something different. I mean, you can only be with somebody for 10 years, 20 years, and it gets old real quick. So I just need some more ideas here. I just need fantasy. I just need something else. So the different age brackets will morph in their desires, let's say, with porn. So it won't be static. What you want and what you need at any given time does change. But it sounds like we're talking about the younger generation, the teens, when you're first introduced to it. And all it is just, I don't know, I'm trying to find out. And this is the best education I can get right here. Two people actually doing it in front of me. Because you can't get that live. I mean, I've tried. It's very difficult to get that education live. So again, we're talking back in the 80s or so, when all you had was VHS and maybe some magazines. Now you could literally pay online and get whatever you want. So today it's easier, but back then, yeah, it was just, you could subscribe. There are a lot of free videos that you could just watch. There's a lot going on today that young kids today don't have nearly the barriers that we had back then.
Oh, and I want to give a shout out to Mimi. Thank you for joining us as well. Thank you, guys. So let's hear Rosanna from the female's perspective. Did you feel the same way, like, about porn? Like, when you were dating a guy, did you think like, oh my God, I wasn't good enough? What was your perception about men watching porn?
Similar to what Thaddeus and Brian said, curiosity, and it depends on the different stages too. It could be trying to get ideas to spice up their sex life within the relationship. It could be a variety of things depending on what stage the men are in their life as well. Some just do it. It could be loneliness as well too. They don't have anybody, so they watch it to get turned on and, have their orgasm, and then they go to sleep. So, something to stimulate them. Like, it's a total number of reasons. I don't really feel a way. At first I thought it was weird, because I'm like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, okay, are you trying to get ideas? But it didn't really bother me like that, per se.
So if you were dating a guy, like, you'd be okay with him watching porn, you wouldn't feel like any kind of way about it?
It would depend on what he's watching it for. Like, okay, you watching it to get ideas, you're not getting fulfilled, like what is it? I mean, sometimes some guys just enjoy it. I mean, if he's been watching it before me, I can't just tell him to stop,
So you question him, you'd have a conversation like, okay, why are you watching this? Or
I'll be curious, to find out.
You would not have no conversation with him. Come on now. You would get upset. I could see it in your face right now.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
I gotta ask, like, what's up? But ultimately, if he's been doing it before, I can't have that expectation for him to stop, especially if it's something that he's been doing. Now, if it's something that he's never done, I mean, I want to say there's a small percentage of guys that has never watched it. So if he happens to be in that small percentage and he's like, okay, babe, I want to watch to get some ideas for stuff we can do, I'll be like, what? you know, I'll give him the side eye. So, you know, it's a number of reasons. It's too many variables that go into it to decide, you know, which ones.
See, yeah, at this point, I'm expecting that the guy is going to be watching porn. Like, I'll be surprised if he's not.
Right.
But guys, like, if your woman said, you know, I don't feel comfortable if you're watching porn, like, I want you to only get turned on by me. Like, what is that a deal breaker for y'all? Like, can y'all respect that or what?
Want me to go first? Listen. I personally, it's not a deal breaker. However, I really don't like it when anybody tries to repress the desires of another person. I think that's where you run into a lot of problems. If this person wants to experiment and you don't, that person's not for you. Doesn't mean you're bad, doesn't mean he's bad. It just means you guys are a square in a circle. You don't match. Mm-hmm. If you then try to change him into a circle to match you, he might do it for a little while, but he won't be happy. Right. Resentment will grow, and that's a disease. And you're going to break up anyway. Mm-hmm. So I always say, listen, this world, there's so many people. In this county, there's got to be 2 million men. If he's not right for you, let him go. It's okay. You'll find somebody who naturally doesn't want to do it, which you like, right? And just go that route. But don't try to change somebody. Don't ask him to do something where it seems that that's not his natural inclination to do. You're going to run into problems. So that's my 2 cents.
But if we said, like, you know, over 90%, like if there's so many women watching porn, I mean, that just narrows down your pool to like what, 2%, 1%? You know what I mean? Like, but so it doesn't matter the reasoning. Maybe her reasoning could be so justifiable that he can respect it and honor that. That is what you saying.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, my bad. For me, like this is, you would be surprised. So I don't know if you did some research into this, but if you come across like men's channel these days, that's all men's channels talks about, especially when advising younger men. They always tell them to do one thing, which is just avoid porn altogether. And you see that a lot. So there's like this counterculture right now that young men are 100% against porn. It has nothing to do with religious. Yeah, you would be surprised. That's why I tell you, Nicole, do some research for the show, man. So because what has been happening is that men are finally figuring out after these years, of course, like you said, the 80s, the 90s, that generation was the experiment, right? So now that those guys have grown up, now we have enough data to show what this experiment with the porn, what it caused. And of all the problems that they're having now in their relationships and in life, period. So they're passing on this message to the younger men, and they're learning because, like you said, they have it at their fingertips. So by the time they're 18, they've had several years of as much as they could handle. And they're seeing the negative, some of the negative effects of doing that. And so they're choosing just to cut it off completely. So you might be surprised that you can actually find a lot of men who just do not watch porn at all. Like, for instance, me personally, I do not watch porn at all. Nothing, soft.
As of this today, right?
Oh, this is actually years.
January 26th.
No, I can say like this is years now. So I don't watch it at all for the same reason. I don't want to jump ahead, but we could go into some of the negative reasons why some of the reasons people would not, choose to indulge in this vice.
Yes, before we do, I want to get it in the chat. We've got some comments and questions here. So Anisha, big up. Thank you for joining us. So Simplified Chic asks, does watching porn have the same effect as watching yourself in action? So what do y'all think? What if you're out here making your own sex tapes?
That is horrible.
I mean, personally, I like watching me more than I like watching anybody else. I'm selfish that way. So.
Okay.
Yes.
personal.
That's a good answer. He just answered.
What y'all think? Y'all think there's anything wrong, or are there just the same kind of negative effects if you're making your own videos, or you know what I mean? What y'all think?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see myself.
You don't want to see yourself?
Definitely.
What, you
That
want
to
to
me
see
is
yourself?
that would be so cringe.
Really?
Yeah, that is definitely cringe. Definitely, you don't want to see that.
No?
Not me. I want to see it all. I'm the king.
Yes.
What?
Y'all don't masturbate in the mirror?
That is cringe.
Well, that's a different question. That's where you go.
Get it.
That is a different question. No. So-
Somebody else say, why not watch it together to see what he likes and also what you like?
Yeah,
So
you're
y'all
just gonna get your feelings hurt. I would advise against that at all. Don't do that.
So do you think young men expect women to do all this stuff they see on there? Like when you're young, do you think that's how sex is, that women are gonna do all that freaky stuff?
Well, for me, I think men and women are a little bit different. Where women, their porn is romance. I think romance, right? And so they get all these unrealistic expectations from men based on the books and the magazines that they read and the movies that they watch. And I think it's the same thing with the men with the porn. It's just unrealistic expectations, you know.
So you think young men do feel like women are gonna do all this stuff?
Of course, that's the image that you get in your head. That thing is burnt into your mind, right? That is your first experience with intersexuality, and you know when you get with a woman, you're replaying what you saw in your head, just like a woman, like she's replaying those movies. That's why she wants things that don't make sense. Like, why would I give you roses? Why would I cut a bush and bring it for you? And why does that make you feel a certain kind of way? And the same thing with the men is like, why would me going upside down? Why would that turn? Like, these things don't make sense when you think about it logically, but it's just because they've seen it in some movie or on TV, and that image is stuck in their head.
All right, Island Rep 21.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Island Rep 21, thank you for joining us and keeping it live in the chat. I love it, y'all. And thank you guys for being so open about y'all experience. Okay, so now we can go into the negative effects. Okay, so let's talk about how this is impacting us now. So Thaddeus brought up such a good point earlier about the addiction part of it, right? Like you said, at first you watching it, okay, I'm just trying to learn, and then it turns into, okay, now this isn't hitting the spot anymore, you know, let me get specialized in this and this and that. And I found that too in masturbation, that is my experience as well. Like at first, you know, I'll just watch a video of somebody getting head or whatever, and then your mind starts to go into different things where it's like, okay, that's not doing it anymore. Let me start to watch threesomes. So now it's like, okay, girl on girl action, 3 people, you know, and then that's hot. And then after that dies down, like you just go to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing.
Level, yeah.
So that, as you said, with drugs and anything else, can be very addictive. So do you guys want to, you know, share your experience about, was it hard for you to stop watching porn? If they said go cold turkey, you think y'all could do it?
Yeah, I just decided one day, it's like, okay, this is just not for me. I will no longer ever do this ever again.
Why? What made you do that?
It's like a variety of reasons. You know, there is the spiritual aspect of it. Also, there is it's just, to me, it's a lazy way too. And then all of the negative things that I read about it, and like all the ramifications that you don't even think. I was like, why am I still doing this? Or like doing something that clearly makes no sense. It's just like any vice. So I'm like, I'm way stronger than this. This thing is not adding anything to my life. As a matter of fact, it's detracting from every area of my life. Gone.
Wow. So those who don't have the willpower to hit the gym every day and give up porn, Brian, can you go cold turkey, or do you feel like it's hard for most people to do that?
No. I can go cold turkey. It's not that big an issue. I think I view any addiction as there are those who can do it. Like, in my mind, addiction to porn is similar to addiction to alcohol, is similar to addiction to anything. Where we have people who casually drink and who could give it up. And then we have people who get sloppy drunk, who can't seem to go a day without drinking, whether it be alcohol, whether it be coffee, whether it be cigarettes. It's no different with porn, sex. Sex can be an addiction, but overwhelmingly, it's not for most people. So I am in the most people category where I don't have to look at porn every day. I might because I want to, but it's not a driving force where it controls my life. If it is, if you don't feel good about it, obviously you should kick the addiction. But overwhelmingly, most men view porn as a positive thing. And I'm quoting a study at this point that I read, and it's in the 90 percentile. Most men don't view porn as a negative. It's in a positive. So again, everything we talk about here is never going to be 100%. There are always those who can get addicted to eating ice cream, right? But the overwhelming majority of us don't. And so, yeah, I don't think, I think I speak probably for the majority at this point that say, if they wanted to stop watching porn, they can. And I don't think, honestly, that most men watch porn on a daily basis anyway. Average 3 to 4 times a week, but it's not an addicted average. It's because just they like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely not advise, but just encourage you to go online and look at the comments underneath those videos that speak about porn addiction. And that is definitely not the case. You'll see guy after guy after guy after guy agree with those videos that, you know, this thing has definitely ruined their lives. It's too many to ignore. So I don't know if it's of course, and if you ask someone, if you interview crackheads and you ask them if crack is good, you know, of course they're going to tell you, yeah, I'm in favor of it. You know, not many of them are going to tell you, no, I don't like doing this, because while you're under the influence, you can't see what it's doing to you. Until, like, a lot of those guys, they didn't even notice how much time and energy they were spending doing this. And not to mention, you know, like, after, you might say that it's a good thing, but like right after, you know, you're finished, it's like there's never a good feeling that, like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. You know, it's never that. So maybe I'm speaking for myself and all the guys that you know, maybe go through or have the same you know, emotional response to this, but I think it's quite a few men who feel that way.
But Brian, that's a good question. Do you ever, when you masturbate or whatever, or in the past, did you ever feel guilty at first? Like, okay, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, this is wrong. And you never felt that way, even as a kid?
Never.
Oh,
Never.
okay. Okay. So maybe it's a
Yeah,
personal thing too. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, a lot of it has to do with how you were brought up.
Right, exactly.
Especially if you're brought up in the church.
Exactly.
And, or even just strict parents, where there is a hush hush, there is a negative feeling in around sex, then you can't talk about it. It is taboo. It is something you should not do. It is fill in the blank, right?
Right.
So I never had that upbringing. So I could enjoy everything I was watching and doing without that chip on my shoulder holding me back. It's not that I don't understand that it's there. There are millions of men who have been brought up in certain backgrounds where, I mean, if you're taught that from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what do you expect? You're gonna feel bad when it happens. It's still gonna happen, but you're gonna feel bad about it. And you're gonna be in therapy for many years. There are millions of men like that. However, there are hundreds of millions of men who are not like that. And they can give it up. They can see it for what it is, as well as even some men grow out of it, meaning when you're 7, you think one way, but by the time you get to 37 or 47, you're completely different. You've learned, you've grown, you've matured. You've taken off some of those shackles that were put on you when you were younger. So all I'm saying is nothing is 100%. Of course, there are men who talk as if it's a bad thing. I understand that. We're all in the same world. We can see that. But studies show that's not the majority. It's just not. And you have to be careful when you're watching the news or you're going to specific websites because they have the ability to funnel to you exactly what you already think in distorted proportions. And you have to be understanding that if you were to just back up and look at the forest instead of just being too close and looking at the trees, then you can see, oh, well, yeah, there are a lot of men, but the forest is so much bigger. And maybe, I need to rethink what I'm thinking.
And
If
I
that
agree in
makes
terms
sense.
of everyone needs to do, more research in this podcast. Of course, we just share our opinions and those of, the people that we know and have grown up with. But we should always encourage everyone to research, do your own research and look up the information. Rosanna, how about you? Like, do you think giving up porn for women would be an issue? You think we just watch it for the guys, or now they have corrupted us as well? I'm just kidding. It's all your fault.
Zero accountability.
Yeah, it's all our fault.
It's always your fault. It's always your fault.
No matter what, it's always our fault.
Right.
No matter
Oh
what.
my God.
That's
Well,
just them though. Don't even worry about it. You can never change him. I don't even argue at this point. Everything is my fault. I get it.
What did Rosanna say?
Rosanna, what do you think?
It's not for me. The first time I did see it, I did feel guilty. I was guilty as heck, and I shut it off so fast. But you're curious, and I was like, "What the heck is all this?" And then got older, and I think it goes by stages, because I firmly believe when you're in your late teens and your early 20s, your mid 20s, you're exploring, you're learning more about yourself, you're actually teaching yourself what you like, your interests, and porn is going to be a part of it, especially when it comes to sex. So you're allowed to do
said.
that. And then, when you hit certain stages in your life and you realize, it's for some people, I'm not saying all, but for some people, it's like, this is not for me. I don't care to watch it. I don't care to see it. I don't even think about it. It's nothing for me. So to me, it matters what stage that you are in your life. There are some women that love to watch it, from what I've learned and stuff like that. And there's a lot of women that are in it, in the sex industry. There's sex sells, and what sells are the women. So there's always a case of pulling more women in through, and then women always want to please their men at the end of the day too. So they're gonna watch these things to learn to see what they can do. So that's another thing that comes to women's heads. What can I do, in bed with him to make him stay? Because we are emotional creatures. So we are going to watch these things to get ideas. And a part of me feel like women watch them more than men as well when it comes to stuff like that. Especially if you start complaining about the sex, you already know they're gonna go and read and find out. They're gonna try to get all these things, and and they're gonna make these kind of suggestions. But to me, at the end of the day, it's all in stages. It's not for me. I don't care to see it. Been there, done that. It's
that's
not
true,
at this stage in my life.
That's true what you said about the educational part, because even me, I'm tempted too, because I'm plus size. So I'm like, okay, how do plus size girls write it and do all these different things? Because it's like, it's not the same as when you don't have the extra meat. So it's like me, I'm like tempted, okay, maybe I should look up BBW porn, but I haven't brought myself to do it, because it's like, I don't really agree with, the whole porn thing, but it's like, man, I really want to know. And like Brian said, and Thaddeus, you can't just, how can you learn, unless you watch something like this, or you try different stuff yourself.
Right.
But it's interesting.
And no man is going to complain about your sex. I'm sorry. What did you just say? No man is going to sit there and say, oh, the sex wasn't good. That's not going to happen. He may complain to his boys. He'll tell his boys, but he's never going to tell you.
I mean, he might not say it to the women in those terms. He might not flat out say, the sex was bad, but he's gonna give you.
I would tell you. I would definitely tell you.
Okay, exactly.
He's in the minority.
Exactly.
You know how I'll tell you? I'll send you some links.
So
You
you
see,
get the hint.
Oh my god.
like they'll give you the clues, they'll be subtle about it.
That's
They will
funny.
never come outright and say beta set close by. No, they'll be like, hey, how about we try this and that next time? Or babe,
Okay,
why
I
don't you
got you.
take a look at this? Or why don't you read this? Like they're slick with it because they don't want to hurt our feelings. But at the end of the day, we
Right.
are emotional creatures. So they
Hurt
are going
hurt their
to-
feelings. The people be boosting them up way too high.
Oh
Oh,
gosh,
Lord,
that is.
Like, how old are you?
Um,
How long have you been doing this? So nobody taught you how to do this. Nobody. Nobody.
Woo! My dude is single. I know that.
and
That
you
dude
you
is
don't know.
single.
Simplified Chic, she made a good comment, and she said it depends on the person's personality type. Some people have that addictive personality. So if you have that addictive personality, maybe you should just, avoid it altogether. So that was a good point too. Okay, let me ask you guys, do you think porn makes guys lazy? Meaning if I know that I could go beat my meat and get my visual fix on, get my orgasm, and I don't have to leave the house, I don't have to fear rejection by approaching this lady, does it make guys more prone to just not put in the effort to find companionship? What do you guys think? Everyone on the line.
Have you done
Are
research?
you crazy? No. Go ahead, Dad. Talk to him.
No, if you've done the research, and you can clearly see that especially the younger men, more and more of them are virgins, and they are celibate, and involuntarily celibate as well. I think they said under 30, I think it's almost up to either 20 or 30% of men that are virgins. And porn was cited at the top of that, because think about it, if you have an urge to do something, the reward is this, right? It's an orgasm, right? That's the reward of what you're seeking. That's the reward of your desire, and you could get it without doing the work. Then sometimes that's just what you're going to do, and then you get used to that. So no longer, think about how much work for some guys anyway, how much work it is to go and convince some girl to, for you to do something with her. I could just turn on my laptop, I clickety clack, boom, in 3 minutes, I'm done, wrap it up, and go to bed. So if it makes guys lazy, most definitely. As you can see, as the porn consumption has gone up, you see like marriage and relationships are going down because there's no benefit anymore. And that's what was one of the huge benefits of being in a committed relationship, was access to sex, right? But if you no longer need that, it's like, why am I going to be in a relationship? Why am I going to even be seeking to get married? Why am I going to make an effort to go meet women when I could just turn on my laptop and there it is?
Okay. I don't agree with that at all. No.
Tell me, Brian.
All right. Let me tell you. So when you're in your teens, when you're just starting out, right? You're not lazy for beating it. You're just, you don't have the opportunity. It's not there, but you still have those desires, which is why you're doing the do, right? When you get older though, there is nothing you find out like a beautiful woman who wants you, who's moaning and groaning, who's showing you that she wants you. Because you have to understand, sex is part mental. It's not just the physical. And you can't do both by yourself. You can try if you're schizophrenic, but most of us need somebody else to do that part. And there's nothing like it. You can go out on any Saturday night right now to any club, to any restaurant, and see the same thing the world over. Guys trying to get girls. That guy doesn't like that Ferrari. He got that Ferrari to get the girl. That guy doesn't like that suit. He's wearing that suit to get the girl. That guy doesn't want to be out there dancing. He's trying to attract the guys who are passing by with the loud music. You think they want to go deaf? No, that's their peacock feathers. They're trying to attract what? A girl. So no, it doesn't make us lazy, because if it did, none of what I just said would be happening. Not one. We are always trying to get girls. Since we don't have girls all the time, between those, let's call them dry spells, we still have desires. And that's when we do our due just to get by. But believe me, we are still out there trying to do what? Get the girl every single time, no exception. So that's my take on it.
I gotta agree with the mental thing, because I'm sure if you're by yourself and you be in it, you gotta be thinking about somebody that you're either lusting after or that you're attracted to, because you can't just get it up like that just from watching TV. Because let's say you're watching a porn, you're gonna picture someone that you're attracted to,
how would you
someone
know?
that maybe.
How would you know, guys?
I'll second that. I'll second that. And initially, you can get it up. Initially, when you're 13,
right,
it does, boom, it's up.
Yeah, once
But
it's up,
like
it's
you
up. But
said,
what I'm saying, for you to finish the race, you're going to picture and you're gonna think of the person that, especially if it's somebody that you're crushing on, you're going to that mental image of that person will be in your head while you're beating it. I'm not saying that's for all guys, but that's where the mental come in for some, even for women too. You know, they're
that's what I was going to say. It helps with women too. Women, it's.
that's why
I think you should speak for the women on that one.
I'm sorry, Thaddeus?
I think you should speak for the women on that one. I'm sure as guys you have something in front of you and then you're picturing somebody else. I don't think so.
That is highly possible. If you can,
it's definitely possible, but is it probable?
You can picture somebody.
Of course you can, but I'm saying guys are not doing that.
Okay, so let's.
How you know?
Okay.
Tell me, how you know?
Okay. So
how?
Okay,
no.
Let's agree to disagree.
No. She said it really confident. So I would like to know how you know.
Okay.
Please
so
tell me.
Some people do and some people don't. Let's say that.
Right. Some people do.
Some people do. Some people don't.
And first of all, I specifically said not all men or not all women.
Okay. Some people do. Some people don't. Okay.
You'll be surprised at the surveys that are online.
I would. You're right. I would be surprised.
People have it's a mental thing as well. You have desires. If you see somebody
I get it. So you're speaking from your point of view. You're saying, yes, this is what I do. But don't say that just because you do it, that men do it too. Like don't do that.
No, I'm not saying that I'm doing it.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, I was.
All right. So okay, guys, time out. Okay, let's get to the next part about. Let's get to the next part about people not desiring their partner as much, or their partner not able to fulfill them sexually. Because they have been watching porn so much and masturbating. So, you get this, you masturbating, you stroking it, you fingering it, and it's like, exactly what crevice, what spot, what to do to get it off, right? And then you meet someone and they just not doing it, the way that you can do it. So, some people probably sneaking off and going and jack off in the bathroom as opposed to, having intimacy with this person, or just thinking in their head, damn, I could have just been doing this myself, get off of me. Like, do you guys feel that could possibly be an issue? Brian, why are your eyes open so
I think that's the disconnect, because I hang with so many younger guys. I think maybe that's the disconnect. I think maybe that's where we're representing like two different viewpoints from like two different, because the way that younger guys think, trust me, it's so much different. I mean, I listened to the conversation, and it's one of those things where women are they if you watch enough of this, like, there is no way that a woman could really satisfy you to a point where I know I've heard stories of guys who they are with their wives or their their significant other, and they have to now watch porn in order for them to get off. Like, a regular woman won't even do it for them anymore, and that's because, like I said, it's unrealistic expectations. After you've watched, your favorite porn star, I mean, think about it. If they're selecting her for this video, it means that she looks good. She's probably like super in shape. They call it unrealistic, beauty standards, right? So she's probably overdeveloped in all the good areas. Now you look at your wife, she probably had 2 kids, stuff ain't where it's supposed to be, and you're looking at that and it no longer turns you on. And so you have to have some sort of outside stimulation. Like I've had some of my younger friends and we're talking and they have a girlfriend who come over and after she leaves, they still have to go do that because they're like, that was pretty much like a waste of time, or, they'll fake, that they like finish and then send her about her way. Yeah. Like, trust me, a lot of, let me not go that far. This is not that discussion, but
yeah, and are guys like envisioning they're having sex with a girl, but they're in their mind they're envisioning that she's the porn star that
not as much as it. Like for instance, let me just say it plain and simple. Like most women are just bad at sex, like horrible, because they've never had to learn. Nobody's ever like my friend here, Brian. He's one of those guys who don't tell them the truth. You have to tell them.
Oh, wait. You said most. How you know most women don't have good sex? How you know that?
Because they don't. Like they've never had to go out and learn.
Have you had sex with most women? Are you quoting any kind of study? No. So you're doing the same thing that you did to my sister over there. You're thinking of something based on your personal preference, and you're saying it as if it's fact. That's not true.
I have a lot of guy friends. I have a lot of guy friends.
I have a lot of guy friends too, and what you just said does not apply to any of them.
Okay. Well, I said, maybe we represent 2 different demographics.
I think I actually agreed with you when you did say you have to think of guys differently. Young guys are not the same as older guys, and we use the age about 25. Young guys below 25, older guys above 25, they don't think the same. They don't. Right. And so what are we talking about? If we're talking about young guys, and by the way, yes, guys do sometimes envision other women while they're having sex with women A. That does happen. How often? There's no way to tell. There's absolutely no way. There's no study you can do to find that out. But it does happen. So the thing is, if you're talking about a younger guy, which I think most of the times we're talking about, you have to understand that their mindset is different. They're in a different stage of life. They're learning, they're experimenting. What they want is not. And so by the time you get to 25, 35, 45, you have experience. You've had 10, 20, 30 girls or whatever it is. You know what you want. You know what you don't want. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. And you can start playing with different things. What you did 10 years ago is not working for you today. You understand? So you have to start changing it up. Sometimes porn helps with that. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes your partner is enough. Sometimes they're not. My friend Thaddeus hasn't been in the game in a while because I can tell you, not everybody in the porn scene right now has big tits and small waists. There are grandmas in there. There are BBWs on there. There's MILFs on there. There's there's midgets on there. I mean, anything you could possibly want, you can look at right now and get off.
Oh, hold on. You're on mute.
Okay. Can you repeat the last thing you said, Brian? You're on mute.
I said there's some of everything online now. It's not just about blonde hair, big tits, big butt and small waist. You have grandmas online, you have BBWs online, you have midgets online, you have some of everything you could possibly imagine online. And all of it is contributing to the $2 billion industry we're calling porn.
So Brian, do you? No, I'm sorry. So I was saying, sorry, Brian. I was saying, do you think that a guy could potentially, not prefer to have a woman, because she can't really fulfill the same way that he can himself? Do you think that could be an issue because of porn?
I have never in my life ever heard that. There is no. Now there are times when a particular woman won't do it for him, but another woman will. And that's where, if that's his wife, now he's got a problem. But he has his brain and he can just imagine another face on the woman he's in front of. That happens. It's better than getting divorced and going through all that mess, right? But there are times, yes, when the woman in front of him, like you said, she's just not hitting it right. She's just not, her stature, whatever it is, her experience level, it's just not there. The chemistry is not working. And so it doesn't happen. And yeah, he just sends her on away. He fakes it and sends her on away. But that doesn't mean that he's now got a problem and doesn't want anyone. It's just that particular one.
Ooh.
I think honestly, to an extent, we're all that way. Some men do it for you and some men don't. Right?
Yeah. Anisha said comparison is a killer of joy, and that's true, huh? Rosanna, from a female's perspective, and I can say mine too, because a lot of women, it's hard for them to come off of actual like intercourse. So, a lot of us when we masturbate and stuff, we rub the clit and all that. So, it's hard for a guy to compare and get her there if she's so used to masturbating and doing that. So sometimes I do feel it's like, okay, yeah, it was nice because at least you connect with the guy through sex, but you kind of do wish that he did handle it in such a way that you could orgasm from. And yes, women do fake it, as you know, as well. Even though I've done that. But Rosanna, what do you think? Like, do you feel that, sometimes if the guy isn't getting it right, her masturbating and things could be more desirable than the man himself?
I think so. But I mean, I would say in the moment, you can probably grab his head and be like, try to move it subtly, try to be slick, just this side bit. Like you could kind of like slide a little, drop a little clue in there, that's one way to kind of fix it. Or if you're open with your partner, just you can have a grown discussion about it as well.
There it is.
Be honest. Yeah. Be honest and talk about it. Don't just be like, oh, he not doing nothing. And I'm talking about relationship wise now. If it's just a regular fling or one night stand, then forget it. Even friends with benefits, because people have those kind of relationships and they have those kind of arrangements, I meant to say, friends with benefits for like how long. And they do talk about stuff like that in those kind of situationships. So just I believe in having a mature discussion, saying what it is, what you can do to fix it. You can even show him where, in my opinion, especially if you want the relationship to last, because like Brian said, what a woman won't do, another woman will. Same thing, it goes the other way too. What a man won't do, another man will. So you have to be able to have those kind of discussions with your partner and be like, hey, this is, what can we do to improve better? And then sometimes they say, let's look at porn. If that's something that you agree to do, to look at porn to get an idea, okay, do that. But you have to make sure you set some, I won't say limitations, but try not to get too deep into it where you rely on the porn so much. Because if you wasn't using porn before, then it shouldn't be the first go-to, Right. I think discussion should be had first before trying to do anything extreme after that.
Okay, and we're just going to talk about one or two more negative effects that I've seen. What about the whole comparison in terms of size? Like I've heard guys say about their penis size, like, oh, I'm just average, or, oh, do guys, when they watch porn, are they thinking like, okay, this is the average or this is the standard? So if my thing doesn't compare to, the mandingo making a girl scream, does that mean that I'm not adequate? You know what I mean? What do you guys think as men?
Well, again, if you're naive, if you're just starting out, if you're just learning, if you don't have anything else to go on, and this is your first time and you're 13, 15, 17, and you're looking at, some of these dudes, Jesus Christ. I mean, ooh, yeah, I don't compare to that. I mean, because they set unrealistic expectations. But of course, again, if you're over 25, you understand, you've had experience, you know
Right.
that's special, that's show, that's not most guys, then it doesn't bother you as much. Personally, what I see on porn doesn't bother me. It's what I know porn is doing to at least a lot of women, what their expectations are. That bother me, because now they're thinking, oh, the guys in the video all have 11 inches, so hey, that's what I want. And no, no, not gonna happen. So that's where the anxiety sometimes comes from. It's nothing about my personal movement or size or any of that. It's just, are you realistic? Do you understand that that's not real?
True. And there's enhancements. So if you really feel like you want to make it larger, go do research and get the enhancements done.
Lord, that don't work. That don't work.
I'm just saying that they advertise it, go get an enlargement. Because I'm inclined to agree with Brian that I don't think those are real to that extent, and I won't say it's not natural. They use all these enhancements and stuff like that, and they advertise that. You see them on TV, stuff to make it a little bit longer in inches, stuff to make the girth a little bit wider. There's all these kinds of stuff. Like, if you're not comfortable or secure in your sexuality, you will fall privy to doing those kind of stuff, to enlarge into, you'll be so obsessed with your body. Is that okay? So at the end of the day, I'm doing this to increase the size. I'm taking this for my stamina. Like, those pornos is like a whole hour and a half long, like a regular movie. You really think these men could go an hour and a half long? Like, again, unrealistic expectations, So
that is, what do you think?
Unrealistic, depending on who you're with.
Here we go.
Yes.
Tell us.
Actually, I won't tell you because this is public. But what?
So Thaddeus, do you think that porn may give men insecurity about their size and what they're working with and what they're doing with it?
Or it could be a boost to their ego
if they are comparable.
Okay. Wow. I have no response to that.
Okay, so cool. No, very good discussion about all of this. So now, do you guys, from the men or the women and everyone who's in the chat, I love how y'all keeping the chat going. Thank you all for joining. Let's get questions. Do you guys have any questions for the guys on here, and women and guys vice versa? Do you have any questions for women, regarding this whole topic of porn that y'all want to know? Anybody? Oh, I had a question that one of my friends asked. He asked, but for women, he wants to know. So ladies in the chat, let us know. And Rosanna, does watching porn, because society has changed so much, like before in the 80s and the 90s, now that porn is so accessible, does it make women more free with sex? Are women more willing to give it up because of this whole sexualized society we have now? Do you guys think that porn has made it easier to get some? So go ahead and tell me, Rosanna. And ladies on the chat, let us know. Because, he's 50. I want to get, so he's thinking like before, you had to put in work to get the girl. So now he's like, oh, it seems like so much easier, to get women now. So, because we're so open to porn, do you think that makes us more open to sexual encounters? Go ahead.
I will say yes. Because nowadays, a lot of women, they're moving like men in the sense of having arrangements, friends with benefits, situationships, especially female. Thaddeus might disagree with me, but especially females that feel that they're the alpha females that, focus on, getting their career on track, trying to get their life together and don't have time for a relationship. and they just want sex, they'll go get it because they know they can get it. And of course, there's OnlyFans. So that's one of the exhibits as well. And a lot of females doing OnlyFans. A lot of females, are naked. A lot of them are more sexual. They're more open with their sexuality as well. So I would say, yeah, to your question, that they are. Porn has helped them do that. And like Brian said earlier too, because there's such a large variety of different categories, it's going to make females even more open about it, because then, especially people that are insecure or have insecurities about themselves, they'll be like, oh, this girl is just like me and she's doing this. It'll help give them that confidence to want to do it as well, because they're seeing somebody that looks like them doing it. So, and all these varieties out there is a lot.
Ooh, that's a good point. Wow. That's a good point.
It helps give them that encouragement to go and branch out and do that,
Oh, that's a good point. NH in the chat, which I believe is a female, says that she thinks it's easy access of porn is affecting the children and how their relationships will be. It seems now people body count is high. Like I've said on multiple episodes, people are like, oh, I stopped counting at 30. Like, I just can't get out my mind because this is something somebody told me. And I'm like, oh, Lord. Okay. Meaning she stopped counting at 30 partners. That is not the age of 30. She stopped counting at 30 partners.
Wow.
So,
how old is she?
And she was at the time, I think she was like 20 something at the time. So, people's numbers are really high. People are meeting. It's not uncommon now on the first date to have sex with someone, it's not uncommon. So
actually expected.
So we have to think about the next generation coming up. I know some of them watching our show too, that to really be careful with this whole, porn industry or just sexuality, in general. It really is, can have some effects on, our relationships and that trajectory. And let me see if anybody in the chat had any other comments on that. Okay, Thaddeus, you were raising your hand. Did you have a question for the women on the chat?
No.
Oh, what were you raising your hand earlier for?
We were in the middle of a discussion, but I lost my
question. Okay. Brian, any of you guys had any questions or anything regarding the topic?
No, I think I'm good.
So I guess lastly, before we wrap it up, do you guys think porn is part or largely in part for the reason why we have such an over-sexualized society? Do you think porn has a lot to do with that?
Define over-sexualized.
If I had to say, I guess
a 25-year-old who stopped counting at 30. And by the way, this is not abnormal, by the way. This is
right.
Yeah, this is like most women. Like most women, I would say, unless they got married young, I would say that they probably can't remember how many guys that they've been with. And why is that the case? Like, why is that the case? I think that there's a direct correlation between porn and relationship satisfaction, sexualization, or like over-sexualization of youth, the youth today. And you could see how it plays out in the dynamic where now it's just like they just objectify each other. Like before it was just men objected, or they were just viewing women as objects, as sex objects. But now when you have women doing the same thing, for a guy, it was hard to get a woman, to sleep with you because she was still with the, her unrealistic expectations were from her watching those romantic comedies and different, reading maybe those romance novels. So that was her unrealistic expectation. So it was hard for a guy to get a girl. So it was still kind of, there was some sort of governor on the whole situation. Now that women are into that too, man, listen.
So
I don't know if you ever been out here, but it's serious. Where first dates are like, if you're not putting it out on the first date, those dudes, guys are just telling you to kick rocks because that's what it is coming to. And if you take a young lady out, sometimes you go out on a date, you give her a hug, and she looking at you like you weird. It's like, yo, I just met you. I don't even know you.
Things
Yeah,
have
what are we
definitely
doing?
changed.
That's old school nowadays.
Yeah, things have changed for sure.
I agree with what Tati has said, but I'm going to come at it from a different angle. If you go to Australia and you look at the Aboriginal erotic drawings on cave walls, they have dated those drawings to about 28,000 years ago. By definition, those drawings are what we would consider pornography. There are people in sexual acts. I say that to say this: pornography has been a part of our society since long before Jesus Christ, since we have been walking. It is not going anywhere. The only thing that we are discussing right now is how open a society is at allowing a human to be a human. Some societies are very open. Some societies make women wear burqas and cover them from head to toe, very closed. It does not make porn go away. All we're saying is the societies that are open, people show right out in the open. They do what they do. In the closed societies, porn is still there. They just learn how to hide it better. So, in my opinion, does porn have cause or have a negative effect on an over sexualized society? No. Even if we right now made laws that prohibited everybody from showing any kind of skin, I guarantee you there would be an underground industry of porn. It's not going anywhere. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, and how about you, Rosanna? What do you think?
Well, I agree with Thaddeus and Brian as well in their viewpoints. It's not gonna go away. It's a huge industry. And people are gonna take part of it, people are gonna watch it, people are going to use it. And whatever stage in their lives, they're always gonna feel that there's a need for it. There's always gonna be Playboy magazine. There's always going to be calendars. And sometimes pornography is just not sex itself too. It can just be naked pictures. It can just be, naked calendars. Anything that's naked per se, I would say would be a part of pornography. Because it all starts with the lust. You lust enough to the body, you're attracted to the physical. And that's where it starts. So to each his own. It benefits some people and some people it doesn't. What I feel that's negative too is for the kids, when they get exposed to it at such a young age, and they get exposed to it by people that's not their parents, and they get the information from the wrong people as well. So that's where I would say the negative impact is mostly when it comes to pornography, the younger generation, the kids that's growing up.
Okay. Thank you all so much for, sharing your opinion and your views. And I know this is such like a, not something a lot of people want to talk about, especially live, right? So I thank you all for being so brave. And thank you, NH, in the chat. She reminded me, and everyone who's watching this video, like it. Okay, like, share, subscribe, support our show and what we're doing here. We really appreciate you. Thank you for everyone that's been keeping the chat lit. I appreciate all of y'all and all of you, your input. And we're going to keep having more conversations, right? I do want to do kind of a part 2 because a lot of us came from the religious, background, to see how this plays in with the religious, values and things like that. So we'll do follow-up discussions on this, but I think this was a really good, way to kind of open up this discussion. So let's give it up for Brian. Thank you so much for being on this episode tonight. We're gonna have him back. Some people in chat was like, yeah, Brian giving it to Thaddeus. Some of them girls in the chat was like, yes, Brian.
That's funny. That's funny.
Wow.
That's funny.
Let's give it up for Rosanna too. One of our recurring guests. Of course, Thaddeus, thank you so much for being with me all these times. And keep the conversation going. We'll definitely, get back at this again. Thank you all and everyone. Have a good night, okay? We'll see you next time on My Comfy
My Comfy Couch.
Oh,
Bye.
hey.